What's your childhood mystery that you finally solved years later?
I solved a family mystery for my mom. I wasn't allowed to play console video games during the week all the way until I was 18, but some nights I'd really be craving it, so I would noiselessly creep through my house into my basement where I could play video games in peace. But once every 30 times or so one of my parents would need something from the basement and I'd quickly turn off the TV monitor, hide in the guest room and pray they didn't turn on a light or notice the Xbox was on. One night I ducked into the guest room and hid behind the bed. To my horror, my mom followed me into the room and turned on the lights. I was panicking, so when she started digging through the closet with her back to me, I made a run for it. I nearly brushed her shirt, and if she'd seen me it'd probably have given her a heart attack. But I made it and kept going all the way to bed. About 5 years went by and my mum said something like, "You are such a quiet walker," and I told her it was because of my basement trips, thinking I had nothing to lose. My mom's face went kinda solemn, and when I explained she said, "So there really was someone down there?" And she explained that she remembered that exact night and the feeling that there was a ghost in the room. Over the next couple days she'd stare into space and just say, "I can't believe you were really there." She seemed to get over it, but she probably checks empty rooms closer now.
Lol, of all the ways to traumatize your parents.
I'm so sorry, your poor mum, but I cannot stop actually literally IRL laughing at the idea of this. You really threw her whole world admitting to that. Ha 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 ha.
Over the next couple days she'd stare into space and just say, "I can't believe you were really there." Imagine your mum had to get months of therapy and take brain-destroying drugs until she admitted she dreamed it up, only to learn years later that somebody was really there.
I visited my dad when I was 6 or 7 years old at the place where he worked, or so I was told. I remember remarking at the time, and people laughed at me, because I said it looked just like a prison. The people laughing were the guards, and I was indeed visiting my dad at Terminal Island Federal Correctional Institution where he was a federal inmate.
I remember having to visit my father in prison. It's weird poop for a young kid, the lie probably did you some favors.
When I was 4, I vividly remember getting into my mom's car and her telling me that our cat had died. She told me how she rushed him to the vet and he was shedding fur, something was seriously wrong. Despite her best efforts, he died. I never knew why he died, and why it happened so suddenly, but I accepted that it happened. Fast forward about 15 years, I'm home from college for Christmas. On Christmas Eve, I'm out driving to the store with my dad and uncle. They are talking about the cat my parents got for Christmas one year, the cat mentioned above. My dad says, "Yeah, that thing was too aggressive, so I took it to a farm and gave it away." Normally, when the family pet dies, the parents lie to the kid and say it went to a farm upstate somewhere to ease the burden. Not my parents. They told me the horrifying truth, even though it wasn't, true.
This twist made me laugh. I imagine your dad taking it to a farm, letting it out, and off the cat goes to play with new animal friends in the barn. He tells your mom and she decides to just go with it. Died.
I grew up on a farm with barn cats. We actually had two populations of cats, the friendly, tame, yard cats that lived outside but were tame and would happily let you pet and hold them, and then the wild barn cats. Being outside pets, they never really lasted very long. A handful of years was a good run, though we had a few that lasted 5 years. We had more than a few cats given to us to live on the farm. And of course the went to live on a farm line for a dead cat didn't really work for us, since we already were the farm. So we grew up with the stark reality of a dead cat is a dead cat.
That's a funny one. Maybe they didn't want you to beg for it back, so they picked something more final. We had a cat that was kinda sick, so Mom took it to the vet. When she came back, she just handed me a plastic bag with my dead cat in it and told me that they put him down without asking her, which I realize now couldn't be true. She knew.
Reverse sugar coating, salt coating?
I remember there was a time where I had to start asking to go play in the backyard when I was about 67, maybe 8, with my siblings so she could supervise us. We never had to do this previously, so my siblings and I were very confused, and anytime we didn't ask she got us in big trouble. Turns out the neighbors were harboring a known pedophile in their house, and that's why Mom got so upset with us going outside without asking.
I grew up directly across the street from an elementary school and never worried or knew about it. My friend lived out in the country next to a sex offender, which I learned recently from his mother, and that explains why we couldn't ever go out and explore alone. Another reason why I dearly regard her as my other mother.
A year after I moved into my house, call me House 4, I'm at a barbecue at next door neighbor's house, House 3. His neighbor House 2 says out of the blue, just so you know, my neighbor House 1 is a pedophile and was caught doing poopy things with his own kids, so if you have kids keep them away from him. His kids are in their 50s now, and the neighbor is in his late 80s and very unhealthy, so I'm not too worried. But it was an interesting introduction. What blows my mind is the guy still lives with his wife. Not sure why she didn't dump his ass.
When I was 10, my godfather gave me $20 as a Christmas gift. At the end of the dinner, the money had disappeared. For years, my parents blamed me for being irresponsible with my money. Years later, we figured out, after she was caught stealing stuff from my aunt's house, that my cousin's fiancé at the time is a kleptomaniac. Turns out she was the one that stole the money.
My uncle stole my Xmas scratch cards I won like 10 off of and never admitted it. Such a dick thing to do to a kid.
Stealing Christmas money from a child? Yikes.
Ha. So, my wallet went missing when I was 12. 60 in it. I know the exact amount because I was saving up to buy a video game. They've always been 60 with my paper route. I asked my older brother, and he denied it. After I started college, I came home to find my oldest brother's crap all dumped on my parents' driveway, and there was my wallet. The sad thing is, not long after my wallet went missing when I was 12, I saved the 60 again in an envelope I kept on top of the bookshelf. When that went missing, I accused my oldest brother, and my mom just told me I shouldn't leave my money laying around. My brother isn't a kleptomaniac. Just a piece of poop.
That's fucked. Did your parents ever apologize?
My college friend group had a mystery like that where a few things went missing and we never figured out how or who took them. I always thought they suspected me because none of my stuff was ever stolen. Then our group went separate ways and a pair of them became housemates, but of that pair, one of them continued to have stuff go missing. So we realized the housemate was a klepto, and in the end he stole some pretty valuable stuff. So wild. Our friend group isn't in touch with him anymore. Whenever his name comes up we just roll our eyes and sigh.
Who ate all the cherries in the cherry cake? I was blamed for this for years after someone picked out all of the cherries and ate them during a family Christmas party. 8 years later my little sister confessed to me that it had been her.
That total brioche. Ooh, I hate that kind of blame game. I was solely responsible for the dishes in my teens. Thing is, I was really bad about getting them done with any consistency, so I was always catching flack for that. At some point my mom noticed that she was missing some pots and pans, and that the drawer felt light on silverware. After turning the kitchen upside down she came to the conclusion that I did not want to do dishes but also didn't want trouble for not doing them, so I simply threw them out in the trash. The accusation stuck despite everything I tried saying to defend myself. I caught backhanded comments and scolding about that for literal years. I believe I was 19, this having happened when I was around 14. When visiting a trailer my grandfather put on some rural property he owned, my mother found a bunch of dishware and realized she had left it here and that I never threw any of it away. My stepdad apologized to me immediately, never got any such thing from mom herself, and I resented her for that for a long time after.
I've got a similar one. When I was little, I was the youngest and a known sweet tooth and frequent snack thief. One day my family went out to eat at this delicious German restaurant, and since we were all full, we got our desserts to go. I got a giant chocolate cream puff and someone else in our family, I don't remember who, got a cherry tart. They were the only one who got a tart, everyone else had cream puffs. Later that evening, I eat my cream puff in peace. In the morning, the cherry tart is missing. Everyone immediately accuses me of eating it. I told them no, I only ate my cream puff. Why would I need to steal a dessert when I already have one? It ended up heated and ended up with my dad full on yelling at me and saying how they don't care if I ate the tart, it's just a tart, but they're mad at me for lying about it and refusing to admit to it. I am crying at this point saying I am not lying. I didn't eat it, but no one else in the family is admitting to it, so it's assumed I am lying. Eventually this cools over and it's mostly forgotten, until years later when we're out to eat at the same German restaurant and my father goes, "Oh, I should get one of those cherry tarts. Those are good." And I am just like the one that went missing that you all blamed me for? And this man, with no shame, goes, "Oh yeah, I think I might be eating that cherry tart. I must be done it late at night and forgotten it. I am pretty sure I could have melted metal with my eyes." The whole family just exploded cackling, going like, "What do you mean you ate it? You were the one yelling at helloiamsilver about it." God, the vindication felt so good though. Because that's one thing about me as a little kid. I was a snack thief, but I weren't no liar. In retrospect, I don't know how the rest of the family didn't accuse my father earlier. He's notorious for going on late-night snack food binges. Far worse than me. And the cherry hay on top. I don't even like cherry tarts. I've never liked cherry.
Oh. Time for revenge. You have 8 years for planning.
My dad used to say he could stop the rain for a moment by snapping his fingers. He'd do it in the car, when it was pouring. I was so mesmerized, told all my friends about it. Well into late elementary school, I've since realized he'd snap as we drove underneath an overpass.
That is prime dad prank material right there. Thanks for the laugh. It's been like 2 weeks since I sincerely laughed.
I'm storing this one in my things to do to future tiny family members part of my brain.
My dad would make street signs, stop signs, mic markers, speed limit signs etc. light up and then turn off with a hand motion. He would never do it when other cars were near so they wouldn't be alarmed or see the magic. My sister and I begged him to do this every car trip. It wasn't until I started driving that I realized he was just turning his brights on off and the light was just reflecting off the sign like it's supposed to.
Oh wow, that's pretty cute. But yes, the embarrassment when you realized you told other kids.
John Travolta was actually John Travolta, which really made a lot more sense. Took me till my teens to figure out that my aunt's name wasn't actually Tyrene, but Tia Irene. I'm in my 20s but still call her Tyrene lol.
That just reminded me of a girl I worked with years ago. She thought Elton John was a duo. Elt and John.
My mom used to call us in for dinner by yelling out the back door from the kitchen. I was in middle school before I realized the screen door was actually called a screen door.
This one is hands down my favorite. I'm calling the screen door to my back porch a screen door from now on.
Not mine, but my husband's. I hope he doesn't see this BC, then my cover is blown. He said in middle school, there was a time that he'd get pulled out of class to shoot free throws in the gym. Only him. He didn't think this was strange, but didn't understand why he was the only one that got to do that. Turns out, his parents told his teachers he couldn't participate in sex ed. Ha ha.
I hope for both your sakes that he has managed to make up the classes.
He must have been really good at sinking free throws.
Sorry kid, this class won't be important for you. Go shoot some free throws.